What's going on, guys? Kevin here from thesportsgeek.com, and in this video I'm going to go over my DraftKings and FanDuel NFL Week 2 picks plus a lineup review from last week. If you want to be notified on when I post new DraftKings or FanDuel videos, make sure you click that little gear icon below the YouTube video if you're on a computer, or the little bell icon that you can see on the right hand side if you're on your mobile app. That way you'll get notified when I post new videos. Okay, so first we're going to take a look at my DraftKings NFL Week 1 picks from last week's video. I had a really good week with the picks I gave out in the video. As you can see there on the left-hand side, we've got my solid picks from last week. Stafford with 29 points, Winston with 26. AJ Green was the top receiver with 39 points. Stephon Diggs was a cheap receiver that put up 20 points. Dwayne Allen, cheap tight end, 17 points. Jason Witten with 15 points. So a lot of really solid picks. And then I had some average picks that I didn't include here. And then I only had one really bad pick, and that was Darren Sproles. He was a bit of a flyer pick, but I thought he'd be a good GPP play. He only put up 5.6 points. So that wasn't a good pick there. But overall, really great week. And a lot of you guys did well with the picks. That we'll talk about that in a second. And then I've got a little note there. My FanDuel picks were mixed results. I gave out the top running back with DeAngelo Williams, but I hit a few duds as well. This week, I'm combining all picks into one video. So this is a DraftKings and FanDuel pick video. So next week's recap will just all be in one. And also, I give out picks via email Saturday or Sunday morning. So if you haven't signed up for my email list, make sure you click on that lineup tool link in the YouTube description below. So I had a lot of people hit me up on email or through Twitter or through the YouTube comments, letting me know that they won some money this week at DraftKings or FanDuel using some of my picks or Fantasy Labs or a mixture of both. And love seeing that, and I like to feature those on the videos here. So I've got a couple good screenshots here. And for the people who sent me a tweet or an email or whatever that won some money, congrats to you guys too. I couldn't include them all, but we got Ross here. He came first by 12.1 points. He won $5,000. Congrats, Ross. CS Bass Fishing says he has his best week ever, $70 won. Congrats to you. Steve, who I've seen a lot on the YouTube comments over the last year, he won in 71% of his lineups. He bet $1 in one lineup and won $500, and another one won $100. So congrats to you, Steve. Then on Twitter, we had Billy Miller. Shout out to me and Fantasy Labs. He won $200 with the lineup at FanDuel. Congrats to you. Samuel Adams, he says, that's what's up. Thanks, Fantasy Labs and Sports Geek. He won $100 placing first from a $10 contest, it looks like. Ken Brophy says he finished 92nd in the Millionaire Maker, thanks to me and Fantasy Labs. So that's out of 1.4 million people. So 90 seconds, pretty impressive. Turned a $3 lineup into $500. Congrats to you, Ken. And this one might be my favorite here from Joshua. He said, I won $6,857 in cash and prizes this week using several of the players you favored. I want to thank you for always putting out awesome videos. I never thought this would happen to me. It's so incredible. Thank you. So congrats to Joshua. Thanks for the kind words. That's huge. Not only did he win $4,500 in cash, he also won sweet tickets to the New York Rangers game valued at $1,500 and New York Rangers penalty box experience valued at $750. So big congrats to you. And that's one of the things I really like about DraftKings is they run these contests for VIP sporting experiences like this. And if you guys can remember, I actually won one of them in a VIP contest back in the spring for an MLB contest. I did a lineup review of it at the time, and I hadn't figured out what I was going to do for my VIP experience. But it's funny that he sent me this email because mine's actually upcoming this weekend. And me and 7 family members are heading to the Pittsburgh Steelers home opener game. My dad's been a huge Steelers fan since probably the 70s. And then naturally, me and my brother have been huge Steelers fans ever since we were born. So we have never been to Pittsburgh. We've been to games closer to us in Buffalo and Detroit, a little closer to Canada. Never made the trip down to Pittsburgh. So we're going this week on DraftKings. They've got us 8 tickets. So me and 7 family members, and they're putting us up in a nice hotel. And the cool thing is that we've got club seats for all 8 of us, but they've also given us 4 field level passes. So me, my wife, my dad, and brother are going to be on the field. Hopefully, I think it's for warm-ups before the game for hopefully maybe an hour or 2. However that works, I'm not really sure yet. But really looking forward to that. So if you can ever enter one of those DraftKings VIP contests for the sporting events, highly recommend it. I'll definitely be live tweeting from Pittsburgh this weekend and hopefully doing maybe a video or something for my YouTube channel or maybe on my second YouTube channel. So look out for that. And yeah, look for those contests if you can ever enter them. If you ever had to have a chance to win, DraftKings definitely does it upright. All right, so I tweeted out about last night's FanDuel contest, and a lot of you guys wanted to see a lineup review from the the 3 top 10 finishes I had in this FanDuel contest. So we'll talk about that in a second. First, just want to mention, didn't have a great Sunday with my DraftKings and FanDuel lineups. I did have a lot of good picks in my video last week, but then my other core players that weren't in the video, guys like Sammy Watkins, I had a lot of Steve Smith Sr. A lot of my other core players didn't do well at all. I had a lot of exposure to some guys who did really bad, really poorly on Sunday. So I didn't have a great week overall, even though I had some really good picks. AJ Green saved a lot of my lineups. It made me cash a little bit, but no big cashes or anything. Didn't have a great Sunday. And then I ended up entering this FanDuel contest on Sunday night, and it was for the Sunday and 2 Monday night games. And as you can see here, I had 81 entries in this $5 contest. So that's $405 worth. And I won $16,000. So pretty crazy Monday night for me. I was actually in first place heading into the last Monday night football game. When the game started, San Fran's D automatically got 10 points. So I was in first, thought it was pretty cool, but I knew I would definitely be falling from there as they started to lose points on defense, or if other people's offensive players started putting up points, because San Fran was the only team, or the only person I had playing in that late Monday night in that lineup. But I also had other lineups that had some players playing that I'll talk about in a sec. So I ended up moving up in a couple of spots and ended up finishing tied for 7th with 2 lineups and 9th with another lineup. So pretty cool to see all 3 of those in the top 10, and then quite a bunch of other pretty high finishes as well that added up to a pretty big score on Monday night. So it's pretty cool. First DFS sweat of the year came in week 1 for me, and I wasn't really expecting it at all after a really below average Sunday. Monday night had a nice sweat. Barely play at FanDuel either, but I actually played in this contest only because there was some overlay. If you guys don't know what that is, basically there's $500,000 guaranteed, and if the pool doesn't fill up or the contest doesn't fill up, FanDuel has to put up that money. So there's actually $160,000 that FanDuel had to put up because not many people knew about this contest or wanted to enter it or whatever happened. They definitely overestimated it. And I tried to throw in as many lineups as I could when I found that out, like 40 minutes before the kickoff. Just started building lineups like crazy. My wife was trying to talk to me. I was trying to get her out of the room because I was trying to build as many lineups as I could because I knew there was a good chance to win some money here. And luckily hit some really good lineups. So we'll just quickly go over these lineups. You'll see they're pretty much all the same. I did have a mixture of stacks and that kind of stuff, but the ones that came top 10, they're pretty much all the same with a couple of players swapped out. So when your core players hit, you have a good chance of hitting some big scores. So it wasn't too far off first. Those 6 points off first, or 7 points. You can see here, I think all 3 of them had this stack with Ben Roethlisberger, D'Angelo Williams, Antonio Brown, and Eli Rogers from the Steelers. It's a four-person stack from the Steelers, and a lot of people don't really do that. And I don't really recommend it too much in the main slates with all the games on Sunday. But when you're playing the smaller slates, if you can really nail that team that puts up a ton of points and get the players in that game that get points, you have really good opportunity of cashing in these smaller slates. So I was all over that stack, had that stack in a lot of different lineups. And as you can see here, they all had pretty big games. Even Eli Rogers got a lucky touchdown pass, but he did have like 5 catches, 6 receptions actually for 59 yards. So overall, pretty big game from him. Even had a bust here with Martellus Bennett. Could have had Jesse James or Vance McDonald in here. Maybe I think that would have put me in first. So had a bust there, but basically had this stack going with a bunch of different variations of running backs, receivers, kickers, defenses in this. And if you guys follow me on Twitter, you guys knew that I was on San Francisco, so I liked their defense as well. I was betting them plus 2.5 last night. Really liked their defense, seeing that LA doesn't really have a good offense. I just figured they would be a good choice for defense. Also had some Steelers defense lineups. I think I had a bunch of different defenses a little bit, but I probably had the most of San Fran, which was awesome because they put up 16 points. Had a good mixture of kickers. And yeah, as you can see here, rounded out with Hyde, Fitzgerald, and I already talked about Bennett and Hopkins there. And then this lineup you'll see is really similar. Roethlisberger, D'Angelo, Hyde, Fitzgerald, Brown, Eli Rogers. This one, the difference here was the tight end and kicker. So I had Jordan Reed and Phil Dawson in this one. They actually scored the exact same points. So those tied for 7th. And then this one was the exact same as the first one, I believe, but with David Johnson at running back. So You can even see that I left quite a bit off the table. I'd have to add up these salaries, but I'm pretty sure I left some money on the table in this lineup. And I do that in small slates more often than the bigger slates because you don't have to use up all your salary. You want to be a little bit unique. So that's what I did for a lot of my lineups. Left maybe like $1,000 or $2,000 on the table. And a lot of people try to max out their salary. A lot of people are going to have the same lineup. So ended up having a pretty big night on Monday, and a lot of fun to watch that game. And I know a lot of you guys wanted to just see the lineups and kind of figure out my thought process. And that was basically it, just basically stacking. I did a lot of Steelers stacks. I did a lot of Cardinal stacks and kind of rotated in some other players. I did stacks with other quarterbacks too. You can see back here they didn't do well at all. But I hit on a couple of the lineups, and that's all it takes. So hopefully that helped you guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. And let's go back to the week 2 picks. All right, so like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be combining my DraftKings and FanDuel pick videos into one video from here on out, I believe. And I'm going to put the salaries on each site below the player. You can see here, I've got the DraftKings salary in green, the FanDuel in blue. And then if a player is significantly cheaper on one site, I'll put a little star beside that site. So starting off my DraftKings and FanDuel NFL Week 2 picks, I've got QB Brock Osweiler stacked with his wide receiver Will Fuller. So Osweiler, 6,100 on DraftKings, 72 on FanDuel, pretty cheap on both sites. And Fuller is still cheap on mainly DraftKings. He's not too bad on FanDuel, but I would definitely try to get more exposure to him on DraftKings, where he's 4,200 compared to 6,200. The Houston Texans are going to be at home versus Kansas City, who gave up 27 points to San Diego in Week 1. Osweiler didn't have the best start, but he did throw for 231 yards, which is all right. 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and 17.64 DraftKings points. And he's got a lot of good weapons on the offense, and I think that gives him some high upside in my opinion. He's got Hopkins, Fuller, and Lamar Miller to work with. So I think he has a pretty dangerous offense to work with, and I think he could have a big game here. Fuller had 11 targets in Week 1. He caught 5 of those targets for 107 yards and a touchdown. He was also open in the end zone for a second touchdown, but I think it was underthrown or overthrown. And there's going to be low ownership on the stack in general, I think, with a total at 43.5. But I think this game's going to be a little more high scoring than that. I think it's going to go over the total. I think Fuller might be pretty popular on DraftKings, but I don't think this stack will be too popular. So I'll be playing this quite a bit, I think, here in Week 2. All right, my second stack of the week is going to be Jaguars quarterback Blake Bortles at 6,700 at DraftKings, 8,100 at FanDuel, paired with his wide receiver Allen Robinson, 7,800 at DraftKings or 8,200 at FanDuel. And if you guys followed my videos and my picks last year, you guys will remember why this excites me so much. Last year in Week 2, this is a screenshot from last year's video. I gave out Allen Robinson as one of my favorite wide receiver picks. He was $4,900 back then, if you can believe it. He only had 3.7 fantasy points in Week 1. His salary dropped. I figured he'd be low owned. And I also mentioned that you could stack him with Bortles for a low owned quarterback wide receiver stack. And that stack went off for a pretty huge score. Ended up winning me a huge cash prize in one contest, and then also cashed my ticket to the Fantasy Football World Championship in San Diego last year. So Week 2 was crazy for me last year with this stack, and I'm hoping for the same magic here in 2016. And I'm not just going with the stack because of last year. I also think it's a pretty good stack this week. They're in San Diego, facing one of the worst defenses from last year. So San Diego was particularly bad against the run, but they're just a pretty bad defense in general. I don't think too much will change this year. This game has a Vegas total of 47 points, so there's quite a few points expected to be scored. Last week, Bortles had 320 yards and a touchdown, good for 18.8 DraftKings points, and that was versus a good Packers defense. So I think this week against San Diego, he could have a pretty good game. If you guys can remember back to last year, he was actually a great fantasy quarterback for the whole year. He was actually the number 3 quarterback in DraftKings points per game last year, which is kind of hard to believe, seeing that he's still so cheap this week at 6,700. I know there's a lot of other good options at quarterback, but I think for the price, this Bortles Robinson stack is going to be pretty solid. Allen Robinson had 15 targets in Week 1, 6 catches and 72 yards. So not a huge game, so I don't think his ownership will be too high, but he always gets his targets. He's generally got a high ceiling of around 15 DraftKings points. And I'm going back to this Bortles Robinson stack for Week 2 in 2016. Next up, we got a pretty obvious play, but I've got to mention it. I know a lot of people here don't do a ton of research and don't know all of the players and don't look at all the pricing and all that. So I want to mention this play, LeGarrette Blount at $4,000. He's probably going to be the chalky running back of the week, meaning a lot of people are going to be on him. but I think you got to throw him in some lineups. He's at home versus the Dolphins. The Patriots are 6.5-point favorites. Last week, he got 22 rushes for 70 yards and a touchdown, good for 12 DraftKings points. So even though he didn't get too many yards with 70 yards, he still put up 12 DraftKings points, which would be enough at the $4,000 salary to pretty much pay off his salary. We're looking for a little more this week maybe, but 12 points would be fine. And that was versus a good Cardinals defense. The Dolphins defense looked good in week 1, but they're not expected to be quite as good as the Cardinals defense. We'll see this week, I guess. But he looks to be the clear number 1 running back, although James White will still get his snaps. LeGarrette Blount is the number 1, and he's too cheap for a good running back who's projected to get a lot of opportunities as 6.5-point favorites. So I think they're going to be running the ball quite a bit again, especially if they get the lead again. And LeGarrette Blount should pay off his value at $4,000. Another wide receiver here for this week is Steve Smith Sr., 4,300 at DraftKings or 6,400 on FanDuel. I've got the star there beside the DraftKings pricing. He's a little cheaper on DraftKings compared to FanDuel, a little more of a bargain there. So I'll probably have him more so in my FanDuel or in my DraftKings lineups than FanDuel. But I'd play him at both sites. I think he'll be very low owned again after last week, and I played him quite a bit last week and didn't have too much success, but I'm going to try him one more week. If he doesn't have a good week in week 2, I'll probably stay off him until he starts to do a little more on the field. But I think week 2 he could have a good game. He's up against Cleveland, who gave up 278 passing yards to the Eagles rookie Carson Wentz in week 1. So Flacco shouldn't have too much of a problem throwing the ball around in Cleveland. Smith, like I said, will be low owned. He had just 19 yards on 5 catches in week 1, but he did have 9 targets, so he's still getting the looks that a number 1 receiver would get. So I think he can turn those into more than 19 yards this week, hopefully. I'm not putting too much stock into this, but Smith did have 191 yards on 13 catches versus Cleveland in his 2 games played in 2015 against them. He was injured last year, so we didn't face him last year, but he did have 2 good games against them in 2015. Maybe he turns that into another good game here in 2016. He's a low price for a wide receiver 1. I think we have value there. So I'm going to try Steve Smith again here in week 2. My first tight end here is going to be Zach Ertz from the Eagles, 4,100 at DraftKings, 6,000 at FanDuel. If you want to play him on DraftKings, you're going to have to look for those Thursday to Monday slates. They have a lot of contests that are Sunday only, but the Eagles are going to be traveling to Chicago for Monday Night Football. So if you're going to play him on DraftKings, look for the Thursday to Monday slates. On FanDuel, he should be in all of the Sunday, Monday slates. Ertz started off the season pretty well. He caught 6 of 7 targets for 58 yards, 11.8 DraftKings points. And dating back to last year, he has hit 11 or more DraftKings points in 6 straight games. And he's also got some upside with 3 straight 20 or more DraftKings points to finish last season. So he can put up those big games for a tight end. He's a great pass catcher. Really like this player. And I think he could have a big game in week 2. And then I've got 4 more NFL week 2 picks here. First off, we got running back Danny Woodhead, 5,200 at DraftKings, 6,400 at FanDuel. It seems like no matter the game script, Danny Woodhead gets involved somehow. Last week, the Chargers were up big on the Chiefs, and even after Melvin Gordon had 2 rushing touchdowns, Woodhead still carried the ball 16 times for 89 yards and added 5 receptions on 7 targets for 31 yards and a touchdown. He had 23 DraftKings points, and he's had 14 or more in 4 straight games dating back to last season. In a game that I think will be pretty high scoring versus Jacksonville, I like Woodhead here again in week 2. Another wide receiver here, this is more of a value play. We got Tyrell Williams. He's 3,700 at DraftKings, 5,400 at FanDuel. Keenan Allen, unfortunately, went down with a season-ending ACL injury, and the Chargers are going to have to replace those targets amongst their other receivers. And Williams is one of the receivers who could see more targets, as he's going to be on the field quite a bit more with Allen not playing. He's shown some upside with 90 yards and a touchdown in a game last year. And in week 1, he had 2 catches for 71 yards. So pretty good game in week 1. And he's going to have more of an opportunity here in week 2. I wouldn't be overly confident in rostering him a lot, but I would throw him in a few GPP lineups for sure. A second tight end is going to be Delanie Walker, 4,500 on DraftKings, 6,600 on FanDuel. I've got a little star beside the DraftKings price because he's a little cheaper there. I'd be playing him more on DraftKings than on FanDuel, but I would also include him in both places. I think he's in a good spot. He's got high upside with 5 games last season with more than 20 DraftKings points. And this week he's in Detroit facing the Lions with a game total set at 47 points. So it should be high scoring. And over the last year, the Lions have been one of the worst defenses against tight ends for DFS purposes. So I think Walker is a solid play at DraftKings or FanDuel. Maybe have him a little more in your DraftKings lineups. And then lastly here, we've got a defense and special teams play. I'm going to go with the Raiders at $2,700 at DraftKings, $4,500 at FanDuel. I came into the season pretty high on the Raiders defense, and that prediction looked pretty awful last week against the Saints, but that was also played in the Superdome against Drew Brees. So it's pretty tough to play defense in the Superdome, especially going up against Drew Brees. Most teams struggle at least a little bit against Brees, and it was week 1, so I'm going to give them a little bit of a break and a chance to redeem themselves as they head home. They've got a little bit of a swagger. They actually ended up winning that game, even though their defense was pretty bad. So their team has a bit of swagger here. They're facing the Falcons at home. I expect them to be quite a bit better. And I think they're a good value play at the price. Obviously, if you have room to pay up for some other defenses, I would take some other defenses ahead of the Raiders. But for the value, I like the Raiders this week. If you want to win more money this year playing fantasy football, make sure you check out Fantasy Labs. I've got a link in the YouTube description below. They helped me win a lot of money last year. They've already helped a lot of people in week 1 win some money. They've got the best tools out there, in my opinion. I highly recommend you check them out if you haven't already. And if you guys enjoyed this video, please click that thumbs up button. It'll help support my YouTube channel and let me know that you like these videos and want me to keep making them throughout the whole year. So as always, guys, good luck in your contest. Hope you make some money this week. Cheers.